Devon Achane is officially on IR, which is horrible news for everybody that owns Devon Achane and has been hoping for some sort of good news, a 2 to 3 game projection in terms of being out. Now we're looking at a minimum of 4 weeks, meaning the Dolphins didn't feel like he would probably be available for the fourth game. And so whenever a team puts someone on IR, they have no hope for them playing, the next 3-4 games. So this is bad news. We don't fully know if he'll be back after, 4 games are up. I assume he would be because this was a hard decision. This took a lot more time than the James Conner or Justin Jefferson decision to put those two on IR. So I think they were really contemplating seeking second opinions, getting some second looks at the knee to see if maybe he could be back within 3 games instead of 4. So I do believe we're looking at 4 games, not 7, not 8, not 10. The problem is, though, you have to make a decision on whether you trade him away for whatever you can get or make some sort of other accommodation. Unless you are set up pretty well on your bench, then you might be okay. We'll go over all those scenarios and more. The Fantasy Football Show begins now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
From the FantasyFootballShow.com news desk, here is your breaking news.
So a lot of us were hoping this was going to go a different way because the decision was taking a while. JJ put on IR, or at least yesterday they announced he would be going on IR, Justin Jefferson. Same thing with James Conner. And then this news, would Devon Achane be put on IR? That didn't drop right away. So we're thinking, okay, he's going to escape the IR, meaning probably back 2 or 3, but not 4 weeks because they would put him on. They put him on IR if they thought he missed 4 games. Now he's on IR. Again, we're going to assume right now, based on what we're hearing, and I have a lot of feelers out there, some of which, it's hard to know what everybody truly knows and what people are projecting, even in a space where I feel like I have good connections to people close to the situation. There's a lot of spec going on. And a lot of times in the news world, even from people I trust, people are trying to get things right or try and be first, not necessarily correct. And so we don't know. Nobody really truly knows if he's projected to come back after the 4 weeks, or are they thinking this could be longer? They're not telling anybody. I'm going to say it's a safe assumption, given the logical sequence of everything, the amount of time it took. It wasn't an immediate decision that he will miss just the 4 games. So that's what we're going to base this off of. And if you were to potentially say, okay, Smitty, do I trade him away, which is option 1, to get the biggest piece you can, the best piece you can, to try and maybe potentially put yourself in a position that you could end up getting, let's say, call it a DeAndre Swift, call it a potential Aaron Jones coming off of a bye week, which is this week, entering week number 6. So you're going to be without Aaron Jones for 1 week if you make this trade. And then he's healthy probably coming into the remaining part of the season. That is probably what I would guess to be the most logical move if you are, let's say, 1-4 or 0-5. So if you own Achane and you don't have a shot at winning by taking a bath for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, you have to probably look into, at least, not saying to do it, because there are other solutions, and I'll go over those in a second, to trade them away. Get an Aaron Jones, get a Devontae Smith, get a CeeDee Lamb, and with Devontae Smith and CeeDee Lamb, given how doubted those guys are, and you're going to try and target a team that is 4-1 or 5-0 that has Devontae Smith and, let's say, Waddle or Debo or Olave, or an injured Ridley's fine. An injured St. Brown, who's not really all that banged up, but his owner is probably freaking out. Now, I'm not saying to necessarily trade him straight up for Waddle or Debo or even in a situation like Lamb or Devontae Smith, Cooper Kupp, I would trade Achane for Cooper Kupp straight up, maybe even Ridley. But in the other cases like Waddle, Debo, if you're targeting, the reason you're targeting a 4-1 or a 5-0 team is because they're gonna give up a little bit more. They're gonna potentially say to themselves, Achane can win me this league if he comes back and is a top 5 running back, and I can acquire him right now, giving up some bench talent because the 5-0 team and the 4-1 team probably have a lot of depth. So you basically are going to go to that team and say, hey, I want struggling Devontae Smith. I want Waddle, who hasn't lived up to expectations. I want Debo. And I also want you to throw in, this player or that player. The best way to do this, to be honest with you, is a 2-for-2. I know it sounds logical to do a 2-for-1, but the problem is I want you swinging so big on that second player that I don't think anybody's doing the 2-for-1. The 2-for-1 is going to require a 2-for-2 so that you can make the owner who's getting Achane, let's say you throw in a Adam Thielen, who's playing very well right now, okay, and you've got Adam Thielen. You're throwing in an Adam Thielen to try and ramp up the 2 players you're getting back. So in the case of trading away, let's say you're going and getting a Devontae Smith, okay, and then right here, you couldn't just get an Aaron Jones. Both players are struggling very badly. But right now, if you're giving up another player, you can upgrade this player slightly and we'll make this Aaron Jones. And both these players are struggling enough that this is not out of the question. This is not out of the realm of possibility. Now, the question is a 4-1 team or a 5-0 team going to own both these guys? Because these are 2 pretty big draft pieces. So all those things need to be factored in. You might only find a team that's 5-0 or 4-1 that has a Devontae Smith and let's say another player like Dameon Pierce, and then you got to ask yourself, is that enough? Maybe, maybe not. If you're 0-5 or 1-4, you might have to take a gamble on something like that. Or Stevenson, who's doing awful. But again, these would be high draft capital players, so it's hard to imagine this team's 5-0 or 4-1. But even so, maybe the Aaron Jones, Devontae Smith owner is actually 2-3, and they would still make this trade. They're 2-3 because they have both these guys struggling a little bit. Devontae Smith was doing good at the beginning of the year. Aaron Jones was doing good at the beginning of the year. And now you can potentially get them to say, well, I'm 2-3. I think I can survive. I've got decent depth. I've got Day Mercado coming in. I've got, I've got Jeff Wilson Jr. So if I take Achane, that's great. And even targeting the Jeff Wilson Jr. with Achane's a smart move. If Jeff Wilson Jr. is available on waivers, you might not need to make a trade at all if for any reason he's out there. Or if you can acquire Jeff Wilson on the cheap using an Adam Thielen, using a Tank Dell, a Nico Collins, you might not have to make any move other than acquiring Jeff Wilson and start Jeff Wilson in place of Achane until Achane returns. Because when you really think about it, at the end of the day, this man right here, Devon Achane, mixed with, let's call it Jeff Wilson, the combined starts, if you're only using one at a time, from week 6 through 17, is probably going to be a top 5 running back. Same thing goes for Roschon and De Mercado or whatever player you throw in that's getting good work right now. Roschon, if he starts and he's still in concussion protocol, and as of this moment of recording this video here on Wednesday, October 11th, at roughly 2 p.m. my time, that's about 5 p.m. Eastern, he's still in the concussion protocol, and not good news this late in the week, given he suffered the concussion on the last Thursday. But if you own De Mercado, you got to think to yourself, De Mercado for week 6, 7, 8, 9, or his next 4 games roughly, added to Achane playing once he gets back for the remainder of the season. Let's say he misses 4 weeks, and you're not starting either one of these guys at the same time, but the adding up of these 2 guys' total starts using him or him in a rotation probably equal a top 5 running back. Okay, so there's no sense in trading Achane if your lineup is filling that void in a very nice fashion. The people that need to trade Achane are the people that are sitting here looking at a 1-4, 0-5 record with no hope of filling the spot, with just a complete hole or vacancy in the starting lineup. Those people need to make this trade. As far as the backup, we've already kind of covered the backup possibility. That would be Jeff Wilson. And he makes a fantastic, like I said, coupling to Achane to get that top 5 running back starting numbers, accumulation of it all, or Roschon. But again, there's risk that Roschon isn't going to pass the protocol. DeMarcado is absolutely phenomenal right now to pick up if he's there. Your waivers are probably already processed. He's probably the number 1 pickup of the week. So if your waivers have already processed and you missed the waiver wire weekly show that we do, then you need to make sure you're watching that every single week. So subscribe to the channel if you're new. This is the best way to probably approach it. If you can back up Achane and wait on him, I like that approach better. I feel more comfortable about Achane returning after the 4 weeks than I do JJ. I feel more comfortable trying to fill in and make do patchwork solution for Achane's 4 games that you would be playing him right now, week 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those, whatever it ends up being, I feel more comfortable making do if you can with the DeMarcado, who's going to start 4 games because James Conner's on IR and out 4 games. So it lines up perfectly. The overlap for DeMarcado and Achane is perfectly suited to be coupled together to try and solve this problem. Same thing with Khalil Herbert. However, Roschon hasn't been put on IR yet. They may not put him on IR. Maybe they're doing the same thing, a little bit of a delay as of this moment on October 11th at 5:08 p.m. Eastern. We have not heard word that Khalil Herbert's going on IR, meaning they think maybe he could be back before the 4 weeks. But let's say he's out 3 weeks. Let's say he's out 2 weeks. He has a high ankle sprain. He's not coming back probably at least in the next 2 weeks. Then you have Roschon, if he starts, as a great solution for Achane. I can't tell you what to do. Only you can make the decision on what to do. Those are old pieces of news from yesterday. Only you can make the decision on what you think you need to do with your team versus the other teams in your league. And if it was me, I would be exploring all my options of keeping Achane before I trade him. But if the right offer came along from a 5-0, 4-1 team, even a 3-2 team, maybe even a 2-3 team that wants to take a risk, the right offer, a Cooper Kupp, a St. Brown, a Devontae Smith, and maybe something small in a 2-for-2 type of swap, like I said, throw in Thielen, and maybe they can throw in a player that they just normally wouldn't throw in. Ramondre Stevenson's a decent player to take a gamble on. I don't love owning him. I don't like holding him. Same thing with Najee Harris. But in the case of them being a throw-in with a Devontae Smith, with a Debo, with a Waddle, with a CeeDee Lamb, in that context where you're trading away Achane, getting that wide receiver and getting that player thrown in, if you throw in just some, well-playing wide receiver 3-4, then I love the idea and concept of getting Najee or Stevenson from that angle and vantage point. That's it. You'll hear me say things like get rid of Barkley, get rid of Najee, get rid of Ramondre Stevenson at as high a value as you can, but there are vantage points from all different sides that make it an attractive acquire in the right scenario like this one right here, where you say, I want to get Devontae Smith, but is he enough for a league-winning player like Achane? No. So what can I get thrown in that has that what-if factor, that potential trade factor, that trade value? Stevenson might have a good rebound game at week 6, 7, somewhere around that territory, and you can trade him away. So don't think those are decent throw-ins. They are. They're just not great holds if you drafted them. It's all about, did you draft him? Did you waste the draft capital on Najee and Stevenson, or are you scooping them up at seller dweller pricing in a trade where you kind of feel like, okay, Olave for Achane is not too bad. Let me get something else and try and figure out a way to make a second move, or just take a gamble on that running back bouncing back in a very bleak running back climate. Thank you for watching. I'll be live at 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, like I always do. I'm always live at 8 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, and I'm always live when news breaks. Appreciate you being here. Get out of here.